If you look at a map of North Georgia, you'll see a tangled mess of squiggly lines making up US Highway 129. That's Blood Mountain. At an elevation of over 4,400 feet, this is the ultimate testing ground for motorcycle riders across the Southeast. The draw here is undeniable. You get perfectly banked sweeping turns, relentless climbs, and a deeply ingrained biker culture that makes you feel like you belong the second you're tired to asphalt. Once you hit the crest, you hit mountain crossings at Neal's Gap. This stone building was put up back in 1934, and the Appalachian Trail runs right through it. It's where hardcore hikers and riders cross paths and swap stories. And if you need to plan your route over breakfast, there's 2 wheels of Suches. It's a building dedicated to riders, giving you a chance to fuel up and get your head right before the work begins. But that massive popularity creates a trap. Newcomers hear the legends, see the gorgeous scenery, and start treating this twisting ridge like an open track. That false sense of security is exactly what gets people hurt. The same mountain that gives you those flawless sunlit sweeps also hides sudden elevation shifts, entirely blind hairpins, and road surfaces that degrade overnight. Let's map out exactly what you're dealing with. On this chart, we measure the thrill and reputation of a road against the actual, unforgiving hazards. Thanks to tourist type, most newcomers map Blood Mountain here. Massive thrill, low danger. But factoring in crash data and survivor stories, the reality drags that point straight into the maximum hazard zone. Getting the most out of these curves means leaving your ego at the bottom of the hill. You trade aggressive speed for disciplined risk management. The physical layout of US Highway 129 actually gives you a massive advantage over most mountain roads. As you make the ascent, you have 2 dedicated lanes running up the mountain. Let's look at a comparison matrix to see how to actually use that space. We're weighing the specific tactics you need against their real-world payoffs and trade-offs. Tactic number 1 is pacing. Because you have those dual uphill lanes, you can wait for the designated passing zones to cleanly bypass the Taurus and slow-moving minivans. The trade-off is patience. Lane splitting is strictly illegal in the state of Georgia. You have to swallow your frustration and accept a temporary delay when you get stuck behind traffic. Staying in your lane and waiting for a legal pass guarantees you keep the flow of your ride without ever risking a blind head-on collision. The sharpest turns up here carry a massive psychological risk. When you lean into a curve and spot an unexpected obstacle, target fixation kicks in. You lock your eyes on the hazard, and your bike follows your gaze straight into it. To survive that, you load the next tactic into the matrix, the sighting lap. By running your first pass at a slower pace, you buy yourself time to spot fresh oil slicks or loose gravel patches that alter from day to day. You sacrifice your first run speed to guarantee you know exactly what's on the pavement. A local rider recently learned this the hard way. He pushed into a hairpin left heading down the mountain, hit an unseen oil slick mid-corner, and his front wheel washed out completely. The impact shattered his spine.
He ended up in a ravine just feet away from a steel guardrail. When you lose traction on a mountain descent, those guardrails leave absolutely zero margin for error. Never assume a blind curve is clean. Treating your first run as a scouting mission is the mandatory toll you pay so you can safely ride fast later. If you master Blood Mountain and want to truly test your mettle, you link it up with State Route 180, better known as Wolf Pen Gap. This is the boss battle of North Georgia. Let's see what SR 180 demands on the matrix. The payoff here is maximum technical challenge. You'll hit sections like the Sosebee Cove Scenic Area, where the speed limit plummets to 10 miles per hour as you navigate tight, decreasing radius turns. The trade-off is a severe stamina drain. This asphalt ribbon forces you into constant gear shifting and incredibly precise braking that will quickly exhaust even experienced riders. Wolf Pen Gap offers zero scenic relaxation. It is an unforgiving gauntlet that requires you to trade cruising comfort for absolute handling mastery. There's one final, non-negotiable rule when riding these mountain ridges: a strict daylight curfew. On the matrix, enforcing a hard stop before the sun drops is your final tactic. The moment the sun sets, thick mountain fog rolls into the gaps. It instantly swallows your headlights whole, resulting in a catastrophic loss of visibility. Worse, the woods come alive. Deer and massive black bears dart right onto the asphalt. Because these roads have virtually zero shoulders, you have nowhere to go if an animal blocks your path. Riding Wolfpen Gap at night does not offer a thrill. It is a blind, white-knuckle survival scenario that you must avoid entirely. Now that we know the physical demands of the pavement, let's map out a plan that actually matches your skill set. We can visualize this route planning on a decision tree. Your first split is the most critical variable, time of day. If you are looking at a night ride, the decision is made for you. The absolute lack of visibility and the wildlife means this is a hard stop. Do not ride. If you have daylight, we move to the next split, your actual skill level. Are you an aspirational rider taking in the sights, or an aggressive, advanced rider looking for a technical challenge? If you fall into the aspirational camp, your safest path is to stick to the wider sweeps of US 129. You get the benefit of the uphill passing lanes, and you get to safely enjoy the historic pit stops at Neal's Gap. Being completely honest about your abilities and choosing a route that matches them prevents you from becoming a statistic on an unforgiving secondary road. For the advanced riders aiming for Wolfpen Gap, that technical route is yours to conquer, provided you strictly enforce your own sighting lap first. Because the asphalt up here shifts, cracks, and collects debris daily, relying on assumptions will put you into a guardrail. Leave your ego at the base of the ridge. North Georgia's legendary curves will absolutely elevate your riding abilities, but only if you respect the strict physical inputs they demand in return. Taking the time to balance the adrenaline rush with objective, disciplined risk management is the only thing that separates a legendary ride from a tragic accident. Stay safe and see y'all out there.